MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries. This is the latest entry in the mech-based series taking place in the year 3000 something. It's quite far in the future. You fight in distant worlds with crazy environments, and there's generally lots of action as you go around in a big mech suit. So this is more of a niche title. It's a bit more of a hardcore mech shooter, a lot more technical in what it provides. Don't think that this is Call of Duty in mechs. It may sort of look like what Titanfall presents, but it's a lot more mechanical and slower in what it provides. So there are a massive range of options for customizing your mech. There's a story mode you can play through. There's instant action. Instant action allows you to enjoy co-op. You can also enjoy co-op campaign, and you play these with others. It's kind of a little bit harder to get people together though, so that could have been handled a bit better. And here's just kind of the settings for the custom scenarios. This is going to be a lot of what your gameplay is if you are playing this outside of doing the campaign. And even the campaign itself kind of feels like just a series of scenarios that are thrown together, quick little, not random battles, but that's kind of what it feels like campaign-wise. And I know the campaign is scripted. It does have the narrative segments. It does have like the dialogue, and these are really kind of interesting, well-done segments where you're in this base and you gotta take care of your mechs. You gotta repair them. You gotta customize them. It costs more if you're in certain areas, and you gotta like fix up your vehicle in order to be effective. And you know, you take a lot of damage out there in the battlefield, especially in the campaign, which is kind of a little bit difficult even at normal levels. But you do get a huge selection of variety when it comes to like customizing the colors, the designs, the weapons, and the feel of your giant mechs and the chassis you use. It's just very, very well done. It's like they spent all of their time working on the visuals and the aesthetics of these mechs, and they're great. But moving past that, the game itself really isn't that interesting. I didn't have a great time with it. I know that there's definitely a niche audience for this that will really like this particular title. And just kind of showing off all the different models and stuff. You can have AI partners instead of real people if you'd like. But like I was saying, it's not really something that's going to be for everyone. It's kind of a little bit hard to get into. Lots of stuff going on the screen, but the UI actually is quite well handled. The gamepad support, while supposed to be improved, isn't very good on this. Mouse and keyboard obviously is, but you get the sense of what I'm kind of talking about in the sense that there's just, you know, this is for a very particular audience. These mechs are slower, they overheat. You gotta be lined up properly, you gotta adjust the legs, you gotta come in here. And then the gameplay itself, while quite beautiful, I think. I quite like the visuals of the game. There's a varied selection of environments. Snow, you can have rain, you can have caustic rain. There's like a sort of lava type environment you can have, and a sulfur one, which you were seeing earlier. So really cool areas, but you're doing the same sort of things over and over again, you know, shooting a couple helicopters, blowing up some tanks, fighting some enemy mechs. Now you're like, oh, well, I mean, that's kind of any shooter and stuff, but this one in particular, it feels very, very repetitive. And the campaign levels are a little bit more, you know, directed and set up a little bit better, but it really is, like in the title, you're just sort of doing like these mercenary contracts. You're not really feeling as though you are directly moving through a story, which you are. They are giving you dialogue, and there's a purpose, and your character is like, you know, they have a reason for what they're doing. So that's interesting, but it wasn't really too compelling, and you could definitely tell that it's a bit of a lower type budget situation title-wise. It's just like, you know, mechanics-wise and that, I think they have a really compelling type of game. Just, there isn't a whole lot to keep me really interested in this one, and I don't think it's for me. I think if you enjoy this kind of game and you've been really wanting some mech action, yeah, you'll probably have a good time for it. I was just expecting something a little bit more faster paced, a little bit more action focused, something that wasn't so tedious. You know, I just want to get in a big mech and go and blast things and smash things and be a big mech. This one, it's kind of like not giving you that. You gotta be slower, and you gotta be more tactical. You can break buildings. I loved just going up to buildings and kind of like walking through them or walking over tanks. I mean, obviously you're not really supposed to do that because it's not good for your vehicle, but you get the sense of it where I was just like wanting to have fun. They do have some neat technical aspects for controlling your squad. You see that top left. You can kind of command them, so I thought that was a nice touch. So they do some things quite right, but I think overall my biggest issue is the lack of content. Now you can do these scenarios and skirmishes, you know, multiple different times. There are lots of little tweaks to them, but they don't necessarily all feel too intriguing. It's like one of them you're just trying to destroy a city, another you're defending a city from some creatures, or well, I mean mechs, tanks, you know, the same that we've gone over. And sometimes you're just trying to target things, and it's like kind of all the same situation. There's no real dynamic change to it. It's just killing things, but killing things in a different setup. It's quite hard to explain, but there's no like side objectives. You're not doing anything extra. It's just you're in these open sandboxes, and you're kind of like, go ahead, and it's like, oh, okay, well, after you do it a number of times, it kind of just gets a little bit boring. And I might be quite harsh on this title, which I don't think I really am being. I think it's, you know, a decent experience. It's quite all right. It's just not something that really is hitting the mark for me as to what I was expecting and what I was hoping for. Now, if you want to work through the campaign, I mean, there's some good stuff in there, you know, you can play through it. I love checking out the whole dock area. I think that's beautifully well done. In general, the visuals of this game are great. I mean, I love the look of the mechs. I love the battlefields. You get a sense of like scale and wonder to it. It kind of feels a little bit like Titanfall. I mean, just in regards to like the structure look and the aesthetics, but it really is its complete own thing where you're able to just go around in a mech and kind of battle it out. And there's different elements to like hitting mechs, you know, different parts of the body. You're seeing that highlighted on the screen where you should have been the entire time. So you can see how it damages them and causes problems, and you've got like a series of different weapons that you can use. And you gotta watch out for the overheating, which is kind of annoying, because I just want to be like a mech and get in there and just kind of feel the intensity and the action. And I don't think this one was too gripping for me. I mean, it was okay, but I couldn't really get into the story that much. I felt, well, this is probably like an odd thing to say, but the tutorial was a little bit of an awkward start, and then the first mission itself I didn't find really, you know, it just kind of kept going on and on, being repetitive from that point forward. It is a little bit different because, you know, you're taking on the contracts as you want, and you can do the skirmishes, but there's nothing really outside of the game. Co-op is kind of a little bit harder to set up. It's nice that you can play with others and get your giant mechs out there. I think that's a good feature to have, but I'm just not sure what the real hook is for this kind of mech game, and I think there is definitely a demand for more mech titles. Like, you know, just getting these big suits and blowing things up and smashing buildings, and again, like, visually great here, and the particle effects and the destruction physics are absolutely outstanding for the vehicles. I do get a little disappointed that you can't completely smash all of them, but when you can find a building that you can move through, it's just so cool seeing everything, like all the rubble and everything just shatter down and get broken as you hear this massive monster moving along the surface area of like this place. It's great. I think that might have been my favorite part, was just the destruction. But I'm not sure the hook that's going to keep you playing this for an extended period of time. And I know that they wanted to provide something that was a single player experience, which is great. I mean, we need more of those. Definitely saying so. But there could have been something extra to this one. It just doesn't quite seem like it hits the mark for me. And I know perhaps, you know, the budget-wise things, but they spent a lot of time making beautiful mechs. They just didn't give you a lot of true content to really enjoy them in. Lots of settings to tweak and play around with if you want different scenarios, but it's going to largely feel like the same sort of thing across the experiences. There's just not quite enough variation for me to find that this is something that is too compelling or entirely different from what I've seen from a number of other titles that kind of expand the concept a little bit further. hopefully we get to see more content come with this in the future, but yeah, that's generally my thing. It's okay. It's an alright title. It's an okay experience with mechs.